Hello. Today in this video I show you how I created a mobile app that shows my website. It's very simple. It's not a lot of coding involved, and that's why these are relatively inexpensive. If you check and you have a WordPress website, for example, some you can get for free, and I tried a couple of them, but they didn't work really that well. So I thought, well, maybe since I do some Android development as well, I thought, well, I just create it myself. So here at the beginning I show you what it looks like. The font is a little bit big because that's how my phone is set up, because I don't see very well. So here it loads. You see a menu at the top. Meanwhile, I changed it a little. The search icon would be also on top here, because right now it's on the bottom. The reason for that is because the sidebar that is in the regular website is on it will be pushed down beneath the content for some reason. Yeah, that's why that is. So when you design your website, that might be one thing to consider, besides making it mobile compatible. Yeah, which is not really that big of a deal. Most themes are designed that they, take in consideration the size of your screen and configure it that way. Okay, so should be done in a second here. Yeah, now it's done. Now we go here, and that is the application. My phone is not hooked up, so it shows like an emulator here. So I don't know, maybe I should spend 2 or 3 minutes just to explain how that all works. Well, first you install Visual Studio. I have 2022 Community Edition, and then when you install it, you can tell it what you all would like to install, and then there's especially some extensions you can install depending on what you would like to program, right? So there's an extension here. Once it comes up, eventually it will. There's one extension for Android, for example. It hooks into the Android Studio, and there are a couple things you have to configure. This is mainly to me, I think, the more complex part of the whole story here, to configure the environment, where the coding is not that difficult really. So you have to be patient when you do that. So what do we have here? Are these the install ones? There are a couple updates too here. Okay. Anyway, here installed. Yeah. So if I have Python installed, and then Xamarin, that is part of Android. My Android development, and then what else do I have? Yeah, and I use SQLite sometimes. I also did some Tizen, which is like for watches. It's programming. Yep. So once you go through the setup, I can't do that right now. I think I don't want to mess things up. When you start the setup, there are sections where you can pick and choose what you want, and you know, there's Android in there, you know, and so forth. And when you install the extensions here, you get under Tools a menu for Android where you can set up your device, then the SDK development kit, and then you have like a device log, which is really nice. Even so, if you don't program, you can see what's going on your phone. Like, let's say it's slow, or you know, some weird things happen. Yeah, so and this is for the programming, like for debugging and stuff. So yeah, and then we have here, what is this? Android tools. There's not much here. Okay, so you create a solution. You know, I call it the name of my website, and then it comes with like a bare bone, if you will, you know, like a framework for your application or app. So then you start customizing it and adding in whatever you want. So now to the components that you have here. Maybe I should have done this. It's not what I want. Okay. Well, there are properties. You can use a GUI type configuration for the properties, where you can go through all these options, or you can use the XML file. Come on. Here we go. So one of them are permissions for your applications. You know, obviously, since you display a website, you need to have access to the network and to the internet. Those are the required permissions for it. Then there are settings for the SDK version that you use for compatibility, and what type of versions of packages that you might download or integrate, you know, it would use. Yeah, and then you know, there's an icon, of course, for your application in the name. For example, here you can see the name. If you name your application, it does not. You don't write like the name in here, but a reference to a variable. The variable name is app name, and the type is string, and you have this squiggly, what is it, the @ sign in front of it. So this also shows you where in what file you can see this. You go to resources, values, and then strings in this case, and you can see there's the app name, and then in here you would define this name and give it its value, you know. So that's the variable, and that's the value. you know, obviously the type is string, or it wouldn't be in the string file. Yeah, for example, here colors would be a different one. You know, it's like a hex number. It can be, you can use other numbers too here, I guess. And then that's the variable name. That's the color name. So if for some reason in the middle of your application development you realize, oh, I forgot this and that, and it is like a variable like this, which means it's not in the code, but in the layout of the application, in the GUI part of it, then then you have to define one of those. You know, let's say you add a color and you add a new variable, so you would put that in the color here, but then you have to update, well let's say you put it into your layout, for example, right, which I'll show you in a minute. Then you would have to go here to the colors, and then you see there's a custom tool that would update the generate. This file is generated from whatever is in the code, but it does not live update, so you have to update it, and you go to do a right click on the file here, and then you go to run custom tool, and then it will update the content of the file and will include the variable you just created in your layout, for example. Okay, this is one thing to keep in mind. So now I showed you the manifest thing. What do we have here? Else, there was this permissions, then the label, then this is where the activity, where it starts, basically. The activity is like I should explain it. Yeah, the activity is like the class in which the application runs, or not the context is a different thing. Well, the activity is where the application runs in, let's say it this way. Everything that runs with everything that is an activity in the app is in this activity part defined, and this is called main activity here, and you can see it here. It's a code file, and in this case it's in C#. So you have the namespace is like the application, or you can call it anything, but I call it like my website here, so it's a little bit conform. Then here you have the activity, and the parameters for it are the application name and the theme. It's basically the same you have in the manifest. And then here you have this is the launcher. So if you launch the application, then this is what happens here first. And then there's a theme style name. So then you have your class, which is called main activity, of course. And this here is the base class. Your class is derived of or sitting on, like it's extending this here, right? So everything that's defined in here is also valid in your class when you extend it like this. So, and this here is like the main variable why we do all this, because we want to view our website. And the component for the visible part of your website in your app is called Webview. And then every main activity has, because that's where the application starts, has a event called onCreate. So once you create the app, this is the app. This is the routine that starts first. So, well, yeah, let's say first. And there's a base one. That's the one that's from the base class, and then it runs all this stuff in there first, which has nothing to do with your customization. It's like it's like what every house has, what every app has. So it has this parameter, saved instance state. This is because you can back out of your app, but it does not close the app, right? So if you go to recent apps and you tap on it, then it comes up, but it still has the stuff in it as you left it the last time. So if you put some input in and you back out of it and you get back in, the input is still there. The reason is because it is saved in this saved instance state, right? And it's called a bundle. It's like, this is like a data type, I would say. You have to research all these terms anyway if you're interested in getting started with this. Okay, and then this is built on Xamarin, so you have to initialize the platform for that, and after that we set the content view, which means we load the layout for it, and the layout is like if in a Windows form, like the form, for example, and you can see that here on the layout. It's under resources. All these are resources. What I just showed you, like all the icons, the values we had, the menus, everything like that is a resource. So we have here two layouts. One is for the activity and one is called content. The names are whatever you pick. It doesn't have to be that name. Now I have to wait a second until it opens. I hope it shows me something. Yes, there it is. So you can see it's an XML file. There are some definitions I don't go into right now here. They're always by default like this, It's like where it gets all the components from and so forth, But it's like a preloading thing, and then you can start defining your layout, what it looks like, and how it behaves. It's almost like a HTML file. You have your elements like dividers, buttons and anchors and stuff, and depending on what you put in there, like block display, flex, grid, or whatever, you can then you can compare it to that. You can do that here too. You have like match parent or wrap content, and all these I can't explain now because it would take 4 hours then for that entire video. So what you have here is like the width and height and it how stuff behaves in it, and then you have the theme Then here we have a toolbar. That's the part you saw on top of the app. You don't really have to have it, because I just put it in there because I wanted to put some options in there, but I didn't get around to that yet. Anyway, that's the definition for the toolbar, you know. And then there's more stuff here. That's the main the main part in the middle of the app. And then we have here another button that I was trying to implement but I didn't get around yet. That would be like a little chat icon, I think. So that's that part. And then we have the middle part, the content layout. And that would be you can scroll, obviously, you know, you want to see the entire website and only the first part. And then here it's defined that it's part of the other layout, and at the position that you found in this one, like, you know, you could change this and put it, you know, up and have the toolbar on the bottom, but who would that do that? So and then here, this is the meat, I would say you could call it, where you have the Webview component that shows your website. That's the container that contains everything from your website, the visual part, you know. And it has also some behavioral values for the width and height of it, you know. It's like an image in a divider, you know. You can set the size of it to like contain, fill, or fit, you know, and the image would behave within this divider. So the Webview here would do the same, you know. It fills the parent, and the parent would be the content area, you know, the whole thing here. So since we access this from the code and do something within the main activity code that I showed you, where is it? It's here. Like in here, right? We have to give it an ID, and all the components have an ID. So, as I explained it earlier, this is an ID. No, the question is, where is it? Oh, did I forget where this is? Let's see. Does it find it? No. Well, you define it as an ID with the name Webview, and then we have here a couple more alignment parameters that just position the Webview within the content layout. It's this. What is it? Nah, nonsense. Well, let's continue on with the code. So now once this is set, the content view, we define the web view. I mean, we defined it here, but we instantiate it by loading the web view component from the resource ID. That's the ID I just showed you here. This one here. So you define the ID here, and you have a variable that is defined here that has the same type as this component, and then you load the resource ID from here, this here, into this variable. Then you have to use this type here, you know. So now at this point, this here has all the values set within these properties as they are in this layout here, right? So now we do some configuration here. Like all websites have some JavaScript code in them, whether it's now to let's say for search, or you know, for headers, for animations, or whatever, you know, we'll have it. So that way, for that reason, you have to enable JavaScript in this web view, or some things wouldn't work. I mean, I would say nothing would work really, because most of the stuff is based on JavaScript. So you would have, it would be more like an image that you can look at, scroll down and up. Yeah, and then this is the main line here, you know, that makes the website show up in the web view component by loading the URL. Now there you see, in theory, if you would use if you would use a resource with a file, you know, like an ini file, or you know, like an XML file, you would be able to load the website there. Or if you would use, and probably that's what I wanted to try here with the toolbar at the top, you know, you could have an options menu, and then the options menu would be tied to an activity, and then you would call it with what it's called an intent, and then you could set a different web address, and then click on OK or tap on OK, and it would switch the content of the web view component here to your new website. So you could like use this app for all kinds of websites, you know. So, and there you see, if you buy a software or sign up for a service that says, oh, we create a mobile app for you that shows your website, you know, then you see all that this is like this app here, and all they would have to change is this line, you know, if it's one of those cheapies that doesn't do anything but shows your website. So this line here is the only thing that makes it unique to your website. Otherwise it would, you know, you can change this here. So it's another reason why I wouldn't buy anything like that, because it's silly. It's just the only thing that people are, I wouldn't say afraid of it, but that's kind of annoying to them, or a big unknown is like how to configure your environment. That's the only reason, they don't want to. They'll rather spend the $20 instead of configuring that here, But if you are a coder or a programmer, or like a hobby programmer like me, then you have it set up already. So then it would be a waste of money to buy this, because you can do it yourself. The only other additional thing you have to do is, if you want to offer it to customers, or make it public, you would have to integrate it into Google Play, where you have to configure it on the Google dashboard, and there are quite a few steps you have to go through to get that done. But if you develop apps anyway, and if you have it installed, then you probably do, and then you know how to do that anyway, and then it's no big deal. The main work there is, or the main annoying work for me, for example, is the certificates. I just can't stand that stuff, but that's how it is. I mean, I understand that it has to be, but it's just annoying to do it. Okay, so now this is one more thing that you have to always do. You have to make sure that it finds back if you click on something. So we have to put that in here. Okay, so now we have here some stuff for option menu. As I said, you can do that, but you don't have to. And you can see I didn't put anything in here really. There are no settings. So, but I could put it in there. Yeah, and at the end, it has to make sure that you have the permissions to view your website and to access the network. So this is a requirement here. You have to check the permissions. So that would be the application requests the permission. And then you see whether you get the approval or not. So that's this part here. So that's basically all there is. And then you have these little extras that are like the style, certain things like that the action bar on top doesn't have a title, where you are, it would take another line away. You don't really need that, because that the title of the name of the application is already the title, so you don't have to really have a title in there. And then you have a bunch of colors, and that's about it. So I don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. So this was a overview of what I did here for my website, like a little mobile app that, it's not very complicated. So I hope that was interesting, and if you think so, then like it and subscribe and hit the notification bell to see all my videos. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.